Happy Friday and welcome back to Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen every single day. I am your host, Massachusetts Pirates team insider Jake Ignazuski, and I'll also be joined by my co-host, Nesson writer Lauren Campbell. And Lauren and I had the opportunity to be joined today by former Red Sox prospect Ryan Westmoreland. We posted part one of our conversation with Ryan yesterday. So if you have not yet, make sure to go over and check that out. But this will be part two of our conversation with Ryan. And in this episode, he explains a little bit more about the unfortunate brain disease that Ryan got. In this episode, Ryan explains a little bit more how he got the unfortunate brain disease that he did while he was a prospect for the Red Sox and how he was able to stay positive throughout this entire situation. And at the end of the episode, he also explains as well how he's still involved with baseball today. So now let's get into part two of our conversation with former Red Sox top prospect Ryan Westmoreland.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I remember when we spoke in the past, I mean, you mentioned it's tough to fully, not allow this to encapsulate you and get you in a negative mindset, because I remember you mentioned before, most people say, go out for a walk, clear your mind, like go out and do things, but like you couldn't do that. And so especially after that second surgery, how were you really able to, try and pick yourself up and try and figure stuff out, outside of baseball?
Yeah, no, that was tough. And like you had just said, the go for a walk thing. After my second surgery, I literally couldn't go for a walk. I literally was stuck on the couch all day, pretty much. Besides going to the bathroom, I couldn't really get around without help. So yeah, that was when you said that, that brought up when I was just, on my couch doing nothing all day, every day. That was a really tough spot for me, like mentally, just because, I had nothing. I couldn't go for a walk and clear my mind. I couldn't, I didn't really want to obviously turn on the TV and see my best friends getting called up to the major leagues. So it was a tough stretch for me, just because there were so much things that I physically couldn't do, and also a lot of things that I didn't want to do. So it certainly led to a dark place.
How were you able to kind of get out of that dark space? Like you said, you couldn't go for a walk. Like, what was your walk per se?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I basically two routes I could have taken, and one of them was the dark route where just end it all and that's it. Or the other one, which I thankfully ended up taking, was using my story and what I've gone through, use that to inspire others, whether it's people with angiomas like I had, or people that are sick, or cancer patients, or family members that are going through something. I felt like I could use what I had gone through to help others, and I continue to try to do so to this day.
Yeah, it's really incredible, Ryan, the mindset that you had throughout sort of this situation, and how you're not only doing what you're doing today to raise awareness, but help other people like look at their situation and realize what they're grateful for, like changing your perspective and realizing what you have around you. I think it's funny because I remember the last time we spoke, my mom was going through something. I said, well, if Ryan can get through what he got through, like you can get through what you got through. And it made her change her whole perspective. And you had the opportunity to also go back to Fenway Park throughout the first pitch. Talk a little bit about what that standing ovation that you got from the Fenway fans was like.
Yeah, that was obviously one of the most special days of my life. The when I got there, I expected, a few people here and there to know my story, because I was a minor leaguer. I never made it to the big leagues. I wasn't sure how many people knew who I was, that whole thing. But when I got out there, the whole 30,000, 35,000 was standing clapping, which was absolutely incredible. because I was a minor leaguer, I didn't make it. But to see that many people know who I was and supporting me like they did was a really special moment for me, and my family was there. And obviously I got pictures of that day everywhere. It was a really, really special time. Obviously I wanted to make it to Fenway in another situation, but to be honored like I was special.
Yeah, I can imagine Fenway and just a packed Fenway, standing ovation. For me, when I hear you say like you weren't sure how many people knew who you were, it's funny to me because I was somebody who followed you in your journey, and I felt like maybe it's just because we're from Boston, but like everyone knew who you were before the unfortunate situation and everything. So to hear you say that, I was like, what do you mean you didn't know how many people knew who you were? Like we love following your journey throughout everything.
Yeah, and that's why these messages I get even to this day are so special. To that they've been able to impact so many people around the country is really special. So to get that kind of ovation at Fenway was I can't even put it into words. It was a really, really cool moment. Obviously, as a kid, you dream of being on the field and looking around at Fenway Park, that whole thing. So to the so to see it like I did was a really, really cool thing, and I'll obviously never forget it.
Oh, I can't even imagine. I mean, I got the picture behind me, and it
Yeah.
actually just looking back at it makes me miss just being back in that atmosphere, especially with how loud it could get. Could you sort of, I mean, especially when everybody's applauding, you can sort of feel like the stadium shake.
Yeah, that's actually funny because the one thing I remember from pro ball is I remember the difference of noise from high school to just a lull, and how unbelievably different that was, and that's single A. But the difference between Lowell and Fenway Park was you can't even describe it. You're literally shaking, and um, you just look around and you're like, I can't even believe I'm here. And certainly as a fan, like that place is rocking during the playoffs, or really any game. So it's really cool to be on the mound and feel that energy from that spot was something we'll never forget.
I hope you guys have been enjoying our conversation thus far with former Red Sox top prospect Ryan Westmoreland. But Lauren just wanted to take a second to tell you about Built Bar.
But I want to tell you about Built Bar. You know me by now. You know how much I absolutely love Built Bar. And now that it's the new year, that means some New Year's resolutions are starting to kick in. And if yours is about getting fit, maybe eating a little bit healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the best protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It doesn't have that chalkiness, maybe that cardboard taste that some other protein bars have. And it makes it easy to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You will want to eat it, unlike those other protein bars, like I said, that can be a little chalky, a little cardboardy, maybe even a little waxy. It's just not good. Built Bar is not like that at all. There are so many flavors to choose from. There's raspberry, double chocolate, mint chocolate, and my favorite, cookies and cream. And Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. So by like week 3 of your resolution, when eating healthy is getting a little bit tricky, you kind of thinking, where's the chocolate? Built Bar. Built Bar is where the chocolate is at. And we have an offer for you. Go to built.com, use offer code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
Definitely make sure that you check out Built Bar and use the code to get some discounts. Now let's get back to our conversation with Ryan Westmoreland. You bringing up Lowell reminded me of something. Didn't the Lowell Spinners have a Ryan Westmoreland Day like back in 2014 or something like that?
They did. They retired. They retired my number,
Wow.
which is really cool.
Talk a little bit about that day, and didn't I remember seeing pictures of how they had like a whole press conference and everything like that, and I mean that was only a few years, after all this unfolded. So, like, what did that honor sort of mean to you?
That was, I mean, that meant a lot to me, especially the fact that that was my only place that I played, after high school. And like we had talked about earlier, the pressure was even more there because here's the local kid getting drafted. And where's he going to the minor leagues? He's going to Lowell, right an hour up the road from his house. So certainly, being an 18-year-old kid, I was like, oh, I'm going to get crushed. But I did well, and it was obviously I'll never forget, just the experience that I had. Obviously, I played well, and I'm very happy about that. But more so, I felt like I proved myself to the New England fan base, and I was more than just, the local kid, taken by his hometown team.
What were your parents' reaction when they found out that your number was getting retired? Because I can't even imagine sort of not only the turmoil that they went through, hearing or going through hearing about your surgeries and seeing what you were going through, but especially since you grew up as a Red Sox fan, like in New England, being able to see their son's number retired at the only place that he played. Like, what was their sort of reaction?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously special for them too, just the recognition that kind of like what I had just talked about, and they knew all the stuff that I had just said, the New England kid, all the pressure that comes along with getting drafted by your hometown team, and obviously they were excited that I played so well that year, but more importantly, they were really, really excited that that organization remembered me and was willing to do that and remember me. And like you had said, being so short after I played there, to have my number retired was special for everyone involved.
Yeah, and you talk about your family. You mentioned you got married last year. How important for you was it to have the support throughout everything that's happened since you were 18 years old, just to have that support system there and to really just kind of keep you going?
Well, yeah, I mean, literally kept me going. I mean, my friends, my family, and now my wife, and they were all there through that whole thing. They saw me as a high school kid that was one of the best athletes in the world. This kid's an elite. He's going to make it to the major leagues. And, one day they all saw that completely taken out from under me. It was running one day to not being able to sit up the next. So they certainly saw both sides of that. And, the thing that was most meaningful is nothing changed from when I was the high school All-American to when I was on the hospital bed. Nothing changed with their support and what I meant to them. And um, even to this day, I have a lot of like physical disabilities, but those kids in my family, and they all treat me like, I was the blonde skinny kid in high school, just the good athlete. They don't, nothing's changed. And it means a lot to me because, when you get drafted, it's, you might lose some people here and there, and you might gain friends that are, who knows how true of a friend they are. But my friends, my family have been, real friends.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. It's hard, honestly, not to get like choked up hearing you talking about like all the support that you got, and I've heard your story like 3 times now, and it still gets me every single time. But especially like you retiring at 22 years old, it must be pretty amazing looking back. Like 11 some odd years now. You're married. You have a little baby girl. Where you're at right now, and if there's anything that you tell your 22-year-old self today, I'm curious what would that be?
Yeah, it would just, the biggest thing I would tell myself is there's good days, there's bad days, and regardless of what you're going through, there's gonna be good days and there's gonna be bad days. If you're completely healthy, that's gonna happen. If you're really sick, that's gonna happen. And not letting that affect you if you can, just, never give up, take it one day at a time. A lot of people get too caught up in where they want to get to, in the long term, but for me, I found out very quickly, things can change real quick, and there's no reason to look ahead. Just um, like I said, one day, one second at a time, because obviously tomorrow is not promised.
Mm.
Um, and I learned that the hard way. I was told that. So to be able to use that, message to teach others, lessons of what I've gone through and my experiences, that's kind of the mindset I live by.
I think that's incredibly admirable. And to hear stories like yours and Travis Roy, who was paralyzed, seconds into his collegiate hockey career, who unfortunately passed away, but when he's just so passionate and he was so positive about the outcome, like he could have just, like you, looked the other way and been like, this is not how I wanted my life to go. Looking back at your entire experience, what is the biggest lesson you learned, whether going through that or about life in general?
Yeah, and it's I found that the people when you're faced with adversity like I was, um, it's not what you do in the moment. It's how you respond to that adversity that's gonna make you who you are. Um, and like you had said, like when I was throwing that adversity, I could have done something right then and there, but it didn't. And I think the route that I chose to go through is what's defining me as a person. And now I'm not just the kid that got drafted by the Red Sox out of high school. Now it's the kid that beat brain surgery twice and continues to inspire and impact people around the world.
I hope you guys have been enjoying our conversation with Ryan Westmoreland thus far. But I just want to take a second to talk to you about BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Locked On to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Yeah, for people who don't know, Ryan undergone 17 brain-related surgeries. 19. Wow.
Wow.
So you talked a little bit about, you have some struggles even to this day. What are some of those?
So you can probably tell when I'm talking. I have a Bell's palsy droop in my face. Um, I have issues with my sensation on my right side. I can't feel everything in my right arm, right leg. Um, but in the grand scheme of things, certainly nothing compared to when I was on the hospital bed, deaf and blind, and couldn't even sit up. Um, those are all things that I deal with. The droop, the double vision, the numbness. Those are all, in the grand scheme of things, minor compared to what it could have been. So I just learned to live with it, and um, like I said before, I always say, take it a day at a time, and it's going to be frustrating moments with in me personally what I have to deal with. There's a lot of frustrating days, but there's also days where I can be very grateful for what I do have, because not everyone's so lucky.
Did you ever think 18-year-old laying in the hospital bed, blind, deaf, not really unsure of what the future holds? Did you ever think you'd be where you are now, married with a daughter and still being involved with baseball?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's before the surgery, absolutely. I thought I'd still be out with the Red Sox right now, playing center field. But once after that surgery, I certainly didn't picture, not only would I have a wife and a child, would I even be happy ever again. So that was something that obviously it took time to get there, but I'm grateful and happy that I obviously got there, and now I can take what I learned and use my experiences to help others, whether it's coaching and or just talking to people and explaining what I went through, and the route I chose to take.
1000%. Yeah, I think everybody listening is going to really be inspired by this conversation. And one last question that I just want to ask you. I don't know if you saw this, Lauren, or not. One of our followers at Red Sox Chimp, funny enough, he listens to us from Mexico, which I found pretty cool. He was wondering if like what sort of still baseball activities you engage with these days, and how do you still live your passion of baseball through your time today?
Sure, yeah. Well, I coach. I coach a summer travel baseball team, like high school ages, and I also coach in college at UMass Dartmouth. Um, Obviously, I can't physically play as well as I used to, but I can still swing. I can still hit. I can still do outfield drills, not at a level like I was used to, but certainly, I can get by in the field. Um, and more importantly, mentally use what I went through. Like I always say, use what I went through to inspire and impact people, because baseball or any sport really is a lot more mental than people think. So being able to explain what I've gone through, what I've learned, and my experiences has really, I think, impacted a lot of the players I've coached.
1000%. And for people who want to support yourself as well as I know, there's definitely organizations out there where you can support people and donate for people who have found Cavernous malformation. And where can people not only support those organizations but support yourself?
Yeah, the biggest one is the Angioma Alliance, which so the surgery I had, cavernous malformation or AVM or angioma. There's a bazillion different ways to say what it is. But it's Angioma, ANGIOMA Alliance.org. And they support obviously what I've gone through, the cavernous malformation. And the important thing is to realize that, there's no cure for what I had. There's surgery, or just let it sit there and hope that it goes away. There's no medicine. There's nothing that's gonna make it go away. So what the Angioma Alliance is doing is raising money for research and hopefully to find a cure, so that people like me and thousands of other people around the world, and their families aren't going through what I did.
1000%. That's definitely the goal. So everybody that's listening, go and check that out. And any way that you can support or just raise awareness would be greatly appreciated. And Ryan, Lauren, and I really appreciate you taking the time, not only telling your story, but giving some insight on how you were able to stay positive throughout this situation.
Absolutely. I'm thankful that you guys had me on, and anything I can do to help you guys out in any way is means a lot to me, to be able to get on any platform and share my message.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. I hope you guys did enjoy part 2 of our conversation with Ryan Westmoreland. We really appreciate all the support on all these different player interviews. Lauren and I have done our best throughout this lockout in this offseason to give you guys some insight on some former players that were on the Red Sox, as well as get you excited about the 2022 season. And we really appreciate everybody making Locked On Red Sox your first listen every single day. Now, also make sure you make Locked On Bets your second listen. It's your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Also, make sure you go over and follow Locked On Red Sox, LO_Red Sox on Twitter to get daily Red Sox content. And we also try to make sure to get you guys involved in every single episode. So whether we have player interviews, reporter interviews, or also we're just talking about the Red Sox, we try to let you guys know what we're going to be talking about before each episode, so you guys can give your insight and give your questions on what we talk about. We want to get you guys as engaged as possible. Our goal for 2022 is to make Locked On Red Sox the most fan-engaging podcast that there is on the internet. So we've greatly appreciated all the support thus far. Also, make sure you follow myself on Twitter. It's at Jake Iggy. And follow my co-host, Lauren Campbell, on Twitter. It's La. That's 3 laws. Lauren with 4 R's. Thank you guys so much for all the support throughout this offseason. It really does mean the world to both Lauren and I. And we have some really exciting guests next week. So make sure you subscribe and follow on whatever audio platform you're listening to, and also on YouTube for the video version. We really appreciate all the support. We hope that everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you guys and talk to you guys next time. Peace.